Welcome to the first edition of the Nahar Jito Bookathon, presented in association with the Raisoni Foundation. In this session, we explore book better parenting for the children of tomorrow, secret to ace the pandemic times. Have your kids started behaving errantly during this pandemic? Are disagreements and tantrums the order of the day now? Do you feel helpless when they feel lonely and miss their friends? Parenting, they say, is like a walk in the park. It's just that it's a Jurassic Park. No matter what you do, your children will always make you feel exasperated. During this lockdown, home, which was always a comfort zone, suddenly turned into offices and classrooms. Nothing remained what it was. Just a few months earlier, this new normal has brewed a lot of latent anger and frustration in children as well as their parents. Better Parenting for the Children of Tomorrow is a book by parents for parents that discuss real parenting issues, especially during the time of Corona, and offers doable and practical suggestions. You will be surprised at how smooth your journey as a parent becomes only you emulate these. Till the vaccine comes, this is the solution to most of your parent problems. Happy parenting. Ms. Mona Verma is an alumnus of Lady Shri Ram College, Delhi University, and post-graduation certification holder from Harvard Business School. She is an award-winning author of 9 books and over a dozen anthologies, which have been the subject of the thesis for many research scholars and ICSE ELT series. The former member of Asia Development Bank also co-owns Disha, wherein she works as executive presence coach and leadership skills facilitator for MNCs and PSUs. Recipient of the Rex Karamveer Award by Econgo and United Nations. She has been listed in the 50 Iconic Authors 2022 category by Aesthetics International. The recipient of the Uttarakhand Ratan Hindustan Times Woman of the Year and Munshi Premchand Satya Puraskar is also serving as chairperson Literature Committee. FICCIFLO Uttarakhand for 3 consecutive years. India Today March 2023 edition has listed her impressive pension in the prestigious British encyclopedias of Indian writing in English. She is co-founder of House of Harmony, a literary initiative to direct and curate literary events across the country. Mona is presently working on her 10th book. This session will be moderated by Ms. Ruprashi is an individual brimming with stories. She is an HR professional who works in Gale India Limited. She is known for her 3 best-selling books, The Girl Who Saw It All, The Ancient of Love, and Our Non-Fairy Tale Life. She possesses both compassion and composure and a capacity for empathy that is clearly reflected in her writings. Now I would like to move forward the session to Ms. Ruprashi.
Hello everyone. Today we are here to discuss about the book Better Parenting for Children of Tomorrow: Secrets to Ace the Pandemic Times. And we are going to discuss it with a renowned author, Mrs. Mona Verma. She has written a very important paper for this book, which is about anger at home from home. She is an award-winning author of 9 books and has many more accolades to her credit, including she is Hindustan Times Women of the Year. She has won Hindustan Times Women of the Year award. She has won Uttarakhand Ratan award, and she is also the chairperson of FICCI FLO Literature Committee Uttarakhand. I welcome you, ma'am, here today, and I am so honored to be here in the session with you. She's a woman of virtue and simplicity, and I would like to start the discussion with her. Welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Rup Rashi and Jito Nahar, for inviting me over here. I have been part of the Orange City Literature Festival with which Jito Nahar has collaborated, and it's an honor to be associated with anything to do with literature, with this celebrate with such aplomb. And another matter of honor for me is that I am in conversation with a very erudite Miss Rup Rashi Singh, who is an author of 3 best-selling books and is already on to her 4th book. A great mother, a great parent that we can learn a lot about this particular sentiment that we will be discussing. a person who works in a public sector organization. So she is also up against her own set of challenges. And yet, apart from that, she is a great author, a person to be, a talent to be reckoned with, I would say.
Thank you so much, ma'am. To start with the discussion, ma'am, I would like to first ask you the important topic that you have covered about parenting in this book
Mm.
and the anger, the main cause and the reasons behind the anger, which are mostly ununderstandable, that you have discussed so beautifully. You have written so beautifully in this particular paper. So, ma'am, what are the reasons and the origin that you think are behind the cause of anger?
Thank you for this wonderful question, Ruprashi. You know, anger is a very honest emotion, I would say. It's a very honest emotion. Anger is not a primary emotion. For example, the primary emotions are hunger, thirst, physical desires, or sleep. These are primary emotions. Where even if you want to curb them, you don't want to them to happen, they do happen. Anger, on the other hand, is also an emotion, but it is a secondary emotion. So, what we mean by secondary emotion is that it is something which is triggered by something else. So, there is bound to be a trigger, but once a trigger is there, it is again a very honest emotion. Now, what we actually, the book was written during the pandemic times, but of course, whatever written in the book is something which is prevalent in all times, more so even now. Now, during the pandemic times, all those issues which were hitherto, shoved under the carpet, things that were invisible because people were commuting, people were working, people had social lives, children were going to school, and, they had other outlets of their emotions. Now, when
Yes,
everybody was cooped up together, like even if a basic family was cooped up together, they felt like strangers under one roof because they, ever since their childhood, they'd never spent as much time together.
yes,
So anger reared its head out of the feeling of uncertainty during the COVID times, out of the feeling of something which is very unfamiliar for them, to be with their parents, or also parents to be with their parents, and all the generations together for all 24 hours, breathing down each other's neck. And also, it was a very fragile moment, a very vulnerable moment, because nothing was within our control. We didn't see any end to it. We didn't know if there was a cure. We didn't know whether we would live for another month or another year. So I think when a person is very helpless, they get very angry.
yes.
And that is why the index of anger just went up. So I wanted to write about anger, that although during the pandemic, we had the best of gardeners, the best of cooks, and the best of fashion designers, and the painters and singers who evolved during the pandemic, वो सब उस time की देन थे. All those people who claim to be whatever they were, but also was anger in a very potent way. So I just thought that this was something which needed to be addressed. And secondly, the worst thing that was happening during that time was that earlier we always thought that anger, comes down, has a one-way street. It goes from top to bottom. For example, in your office, it's the boss who always gets angry. You can't get angry at your boss, right? Your parent gets angry with you. You can't get angry with your parent. You can't scream. But these days, what I notice in children, the anger has completely changed its course. It's reversed its course. It's like it goes from bottom to top now.
Yes,
Children are
right.
first getting angry, and then the parents are getting angry, which
Yes, right.
was something which was very intriguing as well as very disturbing. And I think that is the reason I really wanted to write this article.
Okay. And actually, the thing is that the kids are also they are also learning from our behavior, how we are reacting, how we are reacting to different things. They learn from us also. And when we see that the kids are reacting the same way, we get angrier, but we do not realize that it is the same way we had reacted some other time. So this
Hmm.
is all linked, I think, and this you have beautifully written in the particular paper. And ma'am,
Thank
what
you.
do you think about like, is it necessary to get angry, and does it actually solve the problem?
Yes, as I said, that anger is a very honest emotion. So anger is needed to wake up people, right? At times, in case we don't get angry, we do not portray any kind of dissent towards something, or any kind of that we do not approve of this kind of a particular behavior, it will keep happening. You keep getting what you permit to happen. For example, if you go to somebody's house for dinner and they serve you food, and there are 5 dishes and you do not like all those 5 dishes, now you want to just like spoon away the couple of things that you don't really like. What message goes out to the hostess? Oh, Ruprashi really likes these 2 things. She's finished those. She puts more in your plate.
Yes,
Right?
right.
Now, these are the ones that you did not actually like. And now you're wondering, oh my God, why did I let that happen? I should have actually consumed what I like the most so that I got more of those. Now,
Right.
goes on to portray that we always teach people how to treat us. So when I go to work and there is something that goes wrong at work, I do not get the necessary appraisal, or somebody is very nasty to me. Things don't go the way I wanted. I now come back home and I swear and I'm very, very angry. Now, the message that goes out to the child is that it is okay to be angry when you don't get what you wanted, or what you thought that you deserved, you should have gotten.
Right.
Right? So I feel I should get an appraisal in the office, but my boss feels that there are people more worthy of me. But like everybody feels, all working people feel, no, I'm the next best thing after the invention of fire and wheel. Promotion to mera hi hona chahiye tha. You
Right.
come back home, you throw your bag, you just fling your laptop on the sofa and you say, oh, damn, something like this happened. A child is getting that message.
Right.
I am worthy, I am deserving, and the only tool that I have to combat this particular emotion, by this feeling of being unworthy now, is by portraying anger. This is what this child is getting. And they will then do that to you. The
Yes.
moment you deny them something, you say, no, you can't have the mobile, or you can't have the new iPhone, they feel, oh, damn. They're also going to slam their bag against the wall, throw their laptop and say, well, I'm the worthy one. I should get it. So they are basically catching on from your behavior, because at that age, the kind of age that I'm writing about, at that age, the children are mimicking the parents. They are in the copycat stage. So they feel that everything that the parent does, whether it is the portrayal of positive behavior or negative behavior, it is a right behavior for them.
Yes.
So it's not a right and a wrong behavior. For them, it is a positive behavior, negative behavior. But whatever they're doing, whenever they're doing, in whatever quantum they're doing it, everything is the right behavior for them.
Ma'am, you have written about communication, about anger and angry communication in the
Yeah,
paper.
yeah.
So, can you please elaborate a bit on that?
Yes, that's a wonderful question, Ruprashi, and I can expect just that kind of a brilliant question from you. There is something called angry communication. So it's angry communication is screaming, yelling, flinging things, shouting, whereas anger communication is communicating your anger, communicating your disapproval, communicating your unhappiness about something. But this may not entail screaming, it may not entail shouting. What it might entail is talking to somebody rather peacefully, waiting for a reaction to come, and then taking an action in case required. For example, even if we speak about mythology, everybody knows that when Shri Ram had to swim across to Sri Lanka to rescue Sita, he prayed to Samudra Raja for 3 days. He prayed to Samudra Raja for 3 days. He said, please make way, part your waters and make way for me. This is the reason that I want to do this. And so it's my dharma is at stake. Do it. Samudra Raja didn't relent. He didn't listen to him. It's only after that when he picked up his Brahmastra, his Amog Barn, and he now challenged Samudra Raja that this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to dry you up and then make way. That is when Samudra Raja finally came forth and he said, I'm very sorry about so and so. But he did wake him up. He did. But portrayal of anger should not be the first stage. When you want to tell somebody that you disapprove of something, you do not do that angrily. You communicate your anger that I am angry or I'm upset about something like this, but you give the other person time. But anger beyond a particular boundary, beyond a particular line is stupidity, which is what Sri Ram taught us. That he did pick up his Amok Baan after three days. You know, it's like Vinay na mana jala char gaye 3 din beeti. Bole Ram sakop tak bhai na hoy preeti. Bhai bin hoy na preeti.
Yes.
Right? So that
And
is what works.
for the anger to be at the right cause is also important.
Yeah.
If you are being angry at the person and not at the cause, there is a
Hmm.
difference in that
Hmm.
also.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the thing is that anger, being a secondary emotion, has a cause. And there is a very clear cut cause for it. You know, most of the time it is unmet expectations. I've written about that in my book that I asked my child, you know, get me a glass of water, got it. Get my spectacles, got it. Now get me the newspaper also, I left it there. Arey, joke bolna hai, ek baar bol do na. Now suddenly when I'm angry, what kind of child are you? Yeah, I'll do everything for you every single moment of the day. And now this is what you are telling me. You can't even get me one damn newspaper. And now there's a slugfest in the house. Now where does anger stem from? Till the child was getting me everything, she was my gem. But the moment she denied me something, so you know, the moment there was a loss of expectation from that particular child, or my demand was spurned, I got angry. So, what is the cause of anger? That it is very important for us to understand where it is coming from. Whether I have said something and I have paused to think about it, and then portrayed my anger, or I just didn't pause. So, whether I reacted or I responded to it, that is something which can control the anger. If we just react to something, that means we haven't stopped, we haven't paused to introspect कि हुआ क्या, ये गुस्सा क्यों है. Like, you know, what we feel is that when we get angry with somebody, we feel it is the other person's fault. It's your fault, I'm angry with you. But what we people basically fail to understand, that we also feel that when I am also angry, then also it is your fault. When you are angry, then also it is your fault. Mom, you get so
The other
angry.
person's fault.
My God, your BP will go up. Why are you always so angry? Do you even understand how angry you sound all the time? It's your fault. But when I'm angry, then also it is your fault because you didn't give me something that I wanted. This is
Yes.
something we need to understand.
And what I feel is when we are angry as an adult, even we want someone to ask us, what happened? Why are you reacting like this? Someone who asks us lovingly.
Hmm.
And the same is the case with kids also. If they are angry at some moment, they should feel that there is my mother, my father who loves me. We should not see their reaction. We should try to find what is causing this reaction. That is the main important thing.
Yes, of course, because nobody gets angry because being angry is a hobby for them. I
Yes.
don't get up on a Sunday morning and feel, oh, let's be angry today. I say, let's go for a movie today, right? Or let me learn my Spanish again. Let me give 2 hours to my Spanish lesson, because all these things are my hobbies. These things I love doing. Nobody gets up on a Sunday morning and says that padosi ki gaadi ko patthar maar kar aata hu. Right?
Yes, right.
It's not my hobby. It has to have a cause, and that cause needs to be addressed. And the moment that cause is addressed, the moment we are given to understand that somebody cares about the cause, instead of just clarifying and solving the symptom for us,
Mm.
we connect with that person.
Yes.
Mostly people start firefighting the symptoms. गुस्से मत हो, मुंह ऐसा मत बनाओ, चिल्लाओ मत. These are symptoms. There's no point
Right.
firefighting the symptoms. We need to find out what causes the fire every second day.
Right. So, ma'am, do you feel that the parents are responsible for this growing anger in kids?
Yes, absolutely. Parents are also responsible, because as we spoke about that example, that people will keep putting in your plate what you let them put. So now a child knows that I can do this will be accepted by my parent. Till this particular limit, it's accepted. So we teach people how to treat us. Right. So he or she knows what my limits are, and they keep pushing those limits. If I get something by screaming or shouting, or if my parent gets something by screaming and shouting, that means this kind of behavior is permissible, and this is a short ticket to getting what you want. So if my father wants to park his car outside the house and somebody else's car is there, and the next thing my father does is rings their doorbell angrily and starts screaming at that person, shouting, and there is a fight on the street, and then that person comes and removes the car, that means the screaming, shouting has worked. Or my sister cries about something and my mother says, or my dada dadi, they say, kitna ro rahi hai, le do na, iski shakal to dekho. And they turn into that puny little duck, no? And they know that puny little duck face really works.
Yes.
Right? Uski
It's a
shakal to dekho, kind of a thing. So now a child who's watching their father getting into a fight with a neighbor, or the sister who gets away with that puny duck face, that sweet look, right? Now the child knows what works. So they also feel that screaming, shouting will get the work done. See what happens in school, Ruprashi. What happens? Because I do lots of faculty training programs, so I tell teachers this thing, are there students in your class who fight a lot, who hit others? They say, yeah, there are children who do that.
Yes.
But they come from rather respectable families. It's not as if they have a very rustic background or very tough backgrounds or tough lives back home. I said, have you ever wondered why they hit? Oh, they watch lots of violence, lots of video games, bloodshed, this and that. Everything that entails massacre. And I tell them, no, it doesn't happen. What happens is, in the house, there's a child who's sitting and watching TV. The mom generally, let's talk about, at the risk of sounding very sexist, in a general household, Indian middle class household, where generally mothers are not working and fathers go out to work, mothers would say, आने दो पापा को, दो थप्पड़ लगाएंगे तो मैथ्स का होमवर्क खत्म हो जाएगा. Right? Now what happens, close to 5 o'clock, the child suddenly grows ears, and the threat now starts sounding very, very real to the child. So the 4:45, the child opens a maths book because the father is about to come home by 5:30, and he starts doing the homework. Now, what is a silent, very subtle, yet a very powerful message the child has got? This subtle message is that violence can get the work done. The threat of being hit by the father will get the work done. Now, this child goes to school and starts fighting with the classmates. Because now he understand that violence gets work done. So if I want something from the classmate, I want my homework to be him or her to share their homework with me, share their tiffin with me, or do something for me. The short ticket is through violence.
Right. And also, I feel that the general atmosphere of the house, if it is tense, if we are getting angry and the kid is getting stressed out because of that, I think that is also a reason of growing anger in the kids. Like when we come back from our office or our work, we want to find comfort at our home. Same in the same way, the kids also, when they come back from the school, they want to feel comfortable at home. So when they feel that there is always some fight going on or some kind of argument going on at home, they also develop anger within them, and that is also a cause of, I think, growing anger, because these days relationships, they have got very complicated.
Yeah. You're very right, Ruprashi. That is a great observation that you have made. You know what? When we go to the mountains and we are standing at a hillock and there's not really much around us, and we say how quiet it is, how serene it is, right?
Yes, right.
Do you think it is actually quiet? There's an absence of sound. No, there's not the absence of sound. You hear a river gushing. You can hear the bird chirping. You can hear children playing. You can hear a truck honking somewhere far away or a dog barking. So there's not the absence of sound, but it's like a white noise. But what you say is that it's very quiet, despite that white noise, because that is something which is constant in that particular place. Right. Now, Same way, if I draw the same analogy and talk to you about people who are constantly angry, these are the people who are unable to gauge the noise in their heads. They are so constantly angry that they fail to understand that they are angry all the time. There is no absence of anger moment in them. They're constantly
Right.
angry, just like the white noise. They fail to register it. And this is what is happening in certain households which have very disturbed familial ties, or where children are seeing their parents arguing with each other. They feel that this is the way to be, this is the way life is.
Yes.
This is the way life is, and something talking to each other like this is permissible. Talking to grandparents like this is the done thing.
Right.
It happens. So even if somebody comes and tells them, the friends come and tell them, oh, my parents really love each other. My parents still go out for dates with each other on Valentine's Day. They leave us with Dada, Dadi, Nana, Nani, and yet they both go out. This child, how do you expect this child to believe what the friend is saying? He's never seen something like this. Either he's angry at his parents, or he's refusing to believe his friends and he's angry at his friend because the friend is lying to him. He feels a friend is lying to him. Now
Yes,
there's a
right.
constant rage brewing inside this child. This is also happening, that they are failing to understand that how constantly angry children are. So the problem is not with anger. The problem in these children is the absence or any kind of respite from this anger. Stress is not the problem. No relief from this stress is a problem now. So they're two
Right.
different things.
So, ma'am, where do you think we can draw the line?
I think we can, you know what? I think the parents need to understand. The first thing first, parents need to understand how they are behaving in front of the child. Well, that is a very cliched thing out there, but also how they're discussing other people. It's not only about their behavior with each other, that we say, okay, parents should never fight. Tell me about one husband and wife who don't fight, right? So we are basically not looking at a very utopian world. They will fight, there will be arguments, children will catch those arguments. Even if they don't catch those arguments, they will catch those undercurrents. But how parents are sometimes seated on the dining table or in the living room and they are discussing other people. If they are discussing other people using cuss words, or they are discussing other people in with very negative connotations, that is also not coming from any pleasant emotion. It is also coming from some angry or a very unpleasant emotion. The child is catching that as well. So sometimes they are not like, like radically angry. Sometimes the children are also, there's a slow simmering anger, slow simmering feeling of, how would you say, unpleasantness inside them. And when there is so much of unpleasantness inside you, at some point or the other, it has to, the volcano is going to spew out its lava. You're
Right.
not having anything pleasant inside you. So one has to understand that also. Plus, parents need to be mindful of who the child is interacting with, whether the child is interacting with people, other children who are violent. That is extremely important. Or also whether what are the expectations of their children. If they're, like I said, that anger generally brews from the unmet expectations. So what are my child's expectations? Are the expectations well within our ambit, or my child has ambitions of buying a motorcycle that I cannot afford, or whether the age of my child does not permit that he ride a motorcycle, kind of a thing. What are these expectations my child has? And within those, with the list of those expectations, what are the expectations that are unmet?
Right.
How does my child feel about these unmet expectations? Because these unmet expectations are the triggers for anger. So if we are able to, sit our children down and just ask them, so what is it that you want? So my child will tell me 5 things that they want. Now, out of these 5 things, only 2 things are the ones that I should permit my child to have according to his or her age. And these are also the 2 things that my pocket can afford. Now,
Right.
it is that other three things that could be the root cause of his anger or the root cause of his fights with you.
Right.
These three things need to be explained to the child. I can get you those things, but you need to wait for a couple of years.
Right.
Couple of years for you to grow up and couple of years for me also to be able to afford that kind of thing to you. So not right now. So when you are able to talk about those three things are more important, those two things that you can do for the child. I think that is where parents need to think very, very sensibly and speak with the child.
Right. And also, if we see the kid getting angry, we need to realize that if we'll react in a certain way, the kid may start suppressing the anger, and it may lead to some other major problems also. So it's a very delicate issue that needs to be dealt very efficiently. So, ma'am, do
Yes.
you
Yeah.
So, ma'am, do you think that COVID-19 has contributed to aggravating this issue of growing anger in kids?
Uh, I think yes, circumstances played a pivotal role in I guess the index of anger went up, the kind of quantum of anger went up in people. So as we just spoke earlier as well, Ruprashi, that it was not sometimes anger with each other, it was anger toward the uncertainty of the times.
Right,
The times were so uncertain, the times were so intimidating. We were so precariously placed between life and death. We saw people, friends, parents, your neighbors, even if somebody, God forbid, nothing is happening to their family, but something is happening to the families of their friends, children going orphan. So this was also fear. Fear
right,
and anger also go hand in hand with each
right,
other. So there was a fear. So this fear, when a child is not able to demonstrate what is it that is making him so fearful of the situation, they manifest that fear as anger.
right,
Because as they say, what anger does, that anger also clouds our judgment. Anger clouds our judgment. तो बच्चा हर बार ये नहीं आपको बता सकता कि मैं बहुत गुस्सा हूं,
right,
राइट? वो कभी कभी डरता है और वो डर भी कभी कभी गुस्से की तरह मतलब मैनिफेस्ट हो जाता है.
जी,
वो कभी सीधे नहीं कहेगा कि मैं डरता हूं, बट ही विल थ्रो थिंग्स. He will not say that I'm angry, right? So when a child is very fearful, they say, no, I don't want to eat, no, I don't want to watch TV, no, I don't want to do this activity, because where is his mind? His mind is towards all those catastrophes that are happening to people around him, and he fears the same for his parents and his siblings and people
right,
dear to him. So it is also being manifested in a very subtle way, but these are still powerful signals.
right.
Because as they say, that anger always clouds your judgment, and any kind of misjudgment will always cloud your behavior. It will cloud your intellect.
Yes. Ma'am, as you have mentioned in your paper, loneliness has raised its head as isolation. In the form of isolation, people were getting lonely. So, ma'am, do you think that this has also contributed to this?
Yes, especially in old people, I believe. Especially in
Right.
old people, right? Or
And
what
single
happened?
child and the children who are single children.
Yes, because everybody thought, that a whole family is together. Mom and dad are not going to work. They have nothing to do at home, because even in the initial stages, we weren't even doing any online work either. We were still, we were still fumbling with how to have a business continuity plan in terms of our business. Hoga kya? तो पहले 15 दिन
Right.
तो nobody was doing anything. So this also turned into a kind of celebration with WhatsApp jokes, the memes, and everything going out, and everybody was sending out jokes to each other about lockdown, till reality struck us in the face in not in 2020, but especially when it comes to India in 2021. So what
Right.
also happened in 2020, that many older people, they were very happy that their sons and daughter-in-laws and all the children are around in the house, and it'll be like a mini celebration of sorts because tragedy has struck them directly. It was happening in Italy, it was happening in UK, it was happening in the US, but hadn't touched India in such a drastic fashion so far. Now, that didn't happen. After a couple of days of carom and a couple of days of cooking together, everybody started going back to their lives of online work, online education, and also, as they say, the business continuity plan came into action at work front. And old people suddenly thought, earlier they were stepping out for work and the children were going to school, so they didn't have time. But even if they are home, they still don't have time.
Right.
This also led to a whole lot of arguments I could see, because I live with older people, and although we give them plenty of time, and whether we are going to work or whether we are not going to, or we are working from home, but in many other households I heard old people saying, "तब भी वक्त नहीं था, अब भी इनके पास वक्त नहीं है," kind
Right.
of. So,
And the
and it
major
was.
reason for this is smartphone.
And yes, smartphone, and maybe we are using technology to its best benefit during the lockdown. But then, of course, it's because it's turned into our fifth limb. It is a third person in the room with two people talking to each other. It's a third person in the room that
Yes.
the two people are talking to. So certainly, there's been
Ma'am, many a
it's
times
a
what
dangerous
happens is,
master.
yes, many a times what happens, the kid is communicating some issue with the parent, but the
Hmm,
parent is involved with the smartphone, and we are not even paying full attention to what the kid is saying and trying
hmm,
to say. So
hmm.
at that moment, the kid may feel that that my issues are not important, or I am not important to my
Hmm.
parent. So this
Hmm.
can also, I think, give rise to the feeling of anger within them, and feeling of negligence, that we don't matter.
Yes, Ruprashi, of course, that's a great observation, especially coming from a mother of a young child. I can understand a very well-behaved young child, though. I know of your daughter. So it's but you know what? Now, what is the child going to do? The child may not have the capacity to scream or shout at the parent. Now, when the child is sitting and doing something, and the parents come into the room and they are playing a video game or watching television, and the parent comes and says, supposedly the child's name is Ishan, and says, "Ishan," the child doesn't look, the child doesn't raise his head from whatever he's doing.
Right.
Because, as I said, whatever they see, they feel it is permissible to do so because they've seen the parent doing exactly the same thing.
Okay.
The children are following us for everything. See, I
Right.
am turning 54 now. So when I was 15, I would tell my mother, ऐसे क्यों बोलते हो? ऐसे क्यों कहते हो? ऐसे क्यों करते हो? Now, as a 55-year-old, when I look into the mirror, I see the same woman.
Right.
I do exactly what I saw my mother doing. And my daughter
That's
repeats the same sentence to
right.
me. Why do you do this? Why do you get so angry about this? Why do you talk like this? Right? Or why sometimes you are way too gentle with people? Kind of
Okay.
a thing. Right. Now, those are the things I was telling my mother. So now when I look at myself in the mirror and I see that lady looking back at me, my mother looking back at me, what clear-cut evidence can be there more than that to tell us how we turn into our parents?
Right. And ma'am, do you think that positive reinforcement, like encouraging the kids, or when they tell us something which they have done, and we do not scold them, we encourage them to share it, and we just tell them in a very gentle way that this is not the right thing to do, in a way that the kid understands also, and the next time if he faces something similar, he also tells us about it. So, is there a way we parents can deal with such a situation in a positive way?
Yes, Ruprashi. Either we can persuade a child to do something or we can intimidate a child. Either we can persuade. So if we want a child to do something, How do I persuade my child to do something? I can persuade my child by getting down to their eye level. Let us do this. I think it
Right.
will really work. You know what happened when I was a little girl? Something like this happened to me. And my God, my teacher made me stand outside the
Right.
class for the whole day. It was
Right.
so embarrassing. I really don't want that happening to you. Imagine what if everybody walks down the corridor, the other class is going for their sports period, and you are standing outside the class holding your ears. Oh my God, it was really embarrassing. And let me tell you, it happened to me 5 times. Then I learned my lesson. I'm taking no more of this insult. Here
Yes.
we are persuading the child. Now, what is happening? We are convincing the child
Right.
to do something that that we want them to do. Now,
Right.
how do we intimidate the child? Next time I hear this kind of thing written in your diary, you wait. पहले तो स्कूल में मार खा के आएगा, फिर तू घर में मार खाएगा.
फिर नेक्स्ट टाइम बच्चा सिग्नेचर मार देता है मम्मी के खुद ही.
हाँ, फिर वो सिग्नेचर मारे, because now he or she is looking out for escape routes.
Yes.
They are bound to do that. So now we have two challenges. Now look at the challenge the child has. पहले तो उसने जो signature forge किया. Secondly, he is now seeing an enemy in that parent. The enemy is of the same level as a teacher in school.
Yes.
Now look at, we've raised his challenges. Earlier there was only one challenge. The thing was that I was standing outside the class and I might get humiliated by others. Oh, you were
Right.
standing outside the class. तेरे को punishment मिली थी, क्या हो गया? You know how children have very fragile emotions and it stays
Right.
with them. But when we intimidate the child, now the child has more challenges than one. Teacher is the enemy, you got humiliated also, now you forge the signature also, and your parent is also the enemy. Have we solved the problem? We haven't
No.
solved the problem. So don't intimidate the child, persuade the child by getting down to their eye level. By
Right.
telling them about a story, don't be holier than thou. हम पता है हम लैम्प पोस्ट के नीचे पढ़ते थे. भाई तुम, you are an accident of history. You were born in the 1970s. What do I do? If I'm getting an air conditioned room, I'm lucky. निकलवा दो AC. और मैं क्या कह सकता हूँ आपको? हमारे घर में पैसे नहीं थे, हम 5 भाई बहन थे. Is it my fault that I am the only child? Have 5 more.
Right.
So get down to the child's eye level. You are an accident of history. You were born in 1970s, 1980s. It is not the child's fault. It is not the child's fault that he or she is the only child and has become the focus of all your attention, all your wants, all your expectations. I think it is a very unlucky spot for a child to be in.
Right.
So don't intimidate, persuade them, convince them.
मैम जैसे आपने अपने पेपर में भी लिखा है, sometimes what we do is we tell them what we have done for them. Like मैंने तुम्हारे लिए ये किया, वो किया, तुम ये भी नहीं कर सकते. I think this is also not a very good way to tell them to do a right thing.
Yeah, maintaining a ledger with your child. Are we maintaining a credit debit ledger with our child? I did this
Right.
for you. I wasn't born out of my own volition, wasn't I? Right. I was born because you wanted a child.
Yes.
As simple as that. So don't tell me what you did. Maybe when I'm capable and when I'm growing up, I will also do the same things for you. But for that,
Right.
you got to give me time. And for that, also, you need to stop being so unpleasant and telling me, I did this for you. Right? You are a parent. If you will not do this for them, who else is going to do this for them?
Right. So, ma'am, thank you for sharing these wonderful words. And I think that your words are going to inspire a lot of parents, whosoever is going to listen to this. And this was a wonderful session. I myself, as a parent, I learned a lot from this session. Thank you for being there, ma'am.
Thank you, Roop Rashi. I will basically wrap up with something from the Bhagavad Gita, a book that I totally swear by. And it says that Krodh Bhavati Sammoha, Sammohat Smriti Vibhabra, Smriti Vrishant Buddhi Nasho, Buddhi Nashat Pranshati, which means that anger always leads to misjudgment.
Right.
It's never the right thing. Misjudgment will always lead to a bewilderment of memory. आगे पीछे की
Beautiful.
सब बातें भूली जाती हैं. And bewilderment of memory will lead to loss of intellect. And a person without intellect is a ruined human being.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Roop Rashi, for agreeing to steer this conversation. I had a great conversation with you. Also, I wanted to speak with you because you're a great parent yourself and
Right.
a writer with a huge credit
Thank you, ma'am.
and erudition and wonderful books that you've written, because I know that there are very few people out there who understand human emotions as beautifully as you do. So
Thank you so much, ma'am.
thank you very much, and thank you, Jito Nahar Bookathon, for having me.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye.